the word I'm looking for? Let's see, where do I do manual exposure at? A little bit brighter. That looks better. Okay. I'm back. All right, so there's the audio. Adios. I pissed off the computer. There we go. Okay, so last we left us, we were working on getting the preloading going, and I'm realizing that preload is has very specific meaning. So let's go to the API. We're going to look for object, and I believe that preload is specific to object. It isn't. Then mayhaps it is to node. Node resource preloader inherited by. Sure seems like this would be it. Negative resource. Where do you come from, friend? GDScript. Oh, okay. Preload resource. Returns a resource from a file system located at path. The resource is loaded during script parsing, i.e. is loaded with the script, and preload effectively acts as a reference. Note that the method requires a constant path. So maybe that's the problem. If you want to load a resource from a dynamic variable, use load. There's our answer, friends. We got it. Tafiki, how's it going, man? Load string path. So we want to use load. Keep loading, loading, loading. What? Yeah. Keep loading, loading, loading. Okay. Okay, so we're good on that. We don't have our errors. Well, I just started streaming, so probably not. Although I've been having quite the crowd recently on Twitch. Lots of cool people, so I'm happy about that. And already started C++ today. Very nice. What is wrong here? What is going on? There's our stuff. Oh boy, this new version of Godot. Oh no, my dear friend. No. Oh, okay. It makes sense. We haven't, that makes sense. All right, so we want to, for each tile ID in, then, so we're doing the preload. Now we want to update these. for cell and use cell, update cell object. And now we've got this little guy here. Cobalt and Tolomite say they're watching through Twitch. Tafiki is using YouTube because YouTube will translate the stream into lower bit rates. And I discovered it. We were talking, and his internet is limited to 2 gigabytes a day. Yeah. So he's got to be a little careful about his bandwidth usage. However, everyone sees the chat in that little window there, and so we can still talk to each other. It's just that you got to look at my face and then this stuff here. But yeah, you can still see there's cross-pollination amongst YouTube and Twitch. Although I'm pretty close to being what do they call it? An associate or something. Let's check the stats here. If I go to achievements, I believe I can see something. Yes, I need an average of 3 viewers a stream. And once I have that, I'll be affiliated. And once I'm affiliated, I believe that they'll start to provide other encoding options for people to choose different streams, stream like rates for resolution. And then, yeah, I get a bunch of other stuff that I'm not quite sure about yet. I need to be streaming 25 days out of a month, and I'm not quite doing that as well, but that's to get some other stuff. They gamify the whole thing. By the way, I got to tell people I'm on. Sorry. So I'm just about, we're getting the loading stuff going here. So we can get rid of these guys, right? So let's, we're doing the work, guys. We're putting in the work, and we're doing this because we want to make our lives easier as we grow this. And the cool thing is I really feel like whatever this stuff is that we're making, that it could be used for other games in the future. Godot released 3.3 today, which is a pretty significant update. It provides some backporting from 4, actually, some stuff they've done in 4 to improve things. And there's actually there's a list here of everything that they've done. They've got unified 2D batching now, which improves significantly. Where is it? Yeah. So it's just better 2D rendering, so there's been a lot of improvements with the engine recently, and lots of stability stuff. And they've improved the editor slightly. I don't see any of those changes just yet. Let me make sure I'm running the new version. No, not OBS. We want Godot. Are we on 3.3 right now? Yeah, we are. So, yeah, quite a few. Lots of web improvements. Standard. I'm not doing mono. I'm not doing C# stuff. Not yet. If I was doing C# code, I would be pulling mono. Yeah. The C# stuff, I believe, actually, that's not true anymore. For a while, I believe native, you can use GD native. Yeah, HTML5 threads. This is dope. So now you can use GD native to do web games. And that's cool because that's C, C++, and C#. So that's dope. That's some cool stuff right there. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, this game In theory, we're not doing anything weird. I believe that there might be some particle stuff that wouldn't be web compatible for what we're doing, but it should be able to be playable on a browser in theory. If we wanted to. It might be a good way to do like a demo. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm rewriting the... Right now we can give the equivalent what I was doing here. These scripts that are associated with the objects. So I'm getting rid of some of that code there, and now we got pressure plate here, right? So we can save that. So let's do our associated. Now, last thing we do on ready, it's kind of like a knit. It's a little bit after a knit, and it has its own kind of behaviors to it, because it doesn't run. These things don't execute in order necessarily, so you can't expect certain things to fire. And if you need to, you use something like connect here, and then that tells it to wait until ready finishes, and then this particular command will fire. White Jesus, everybody's here. It's a party. How's everybody doing? Yeah, so now we're going to run update cell object, and then this code is going to be significantly smaller. Yeah, I've already started to pare it down. So object, and this is where we need to replace it with tiles tile name. Tiles Morales. I cracked myself up. Tiles tile name. And I think this will work. Let's see. Oh, nope. I pissed it off. Invalid index name on base string of value type string. Invalid set index object. What is it thinking object is? Object equals. That should be the preload. Let's print out. Let's print this out. What do we got? Debug. Okay. Yeah, I was really okay, so button conveyor, there's our script. Interesting. This one's in quotes. Oh. Preload. So that's a... Okay, so maybe that's what I'm not understanding. Oh, it's tile preload, tile name. That's where I'm putting it. Tile preload, tile name. What is it mad about? Identifier tire preload. Oh, because we're not global. Right. Let's put you up here. Not global, but accessible from the outside of the function. So we're still pissed. Gosh darn it. All right, let's debug tile preload. Let's see what's going on here. What's going on? So there's objects. We've got objects. There they are. What's going on? Tiles. If tiles has tile name. Oh, this needs to be a for each. That's part of our problem. Okay, so print. Sometimes I feel like when you refactor, it just delete everything. Yeah. I always forget it's nighttime for you. Don't worry. You don't have to apologize. Don't feel like you do. I'm a persistent apology person myself. I do that. copy and paste nodes feature. Does that mean like you could literally copy and paste? Oh my God! That's nice. Oh. Okay, here's the one thing I'll say though. This is going to create a lot of bad habits. The reason why they did it that way was so that you would use instantiation the right way. And so there's a real danger with this that you're going to create a whole generation of users. Well, not even spaghetti code. It's more like spaghetti objects or spaghetti nodes because it's not coding. Like you're just copying and pasting nodes around and stuff. So technically you are writing code, so to speak, because you're creating those objects. But a lot of people don't think that way when they're doing it. But a lot of danger in that because people's scene trees could get nasty if they're not careful. I mean, that's cool. It's mostly cool when you're duplicating, when you're like trying to create more of the same kind of sub scenes, and you need to be able to like kind of pop those out pretty quick. But yeah, I see why they fought it for so long. Because right away I'm already like, oh, that's actually kind of a problem. Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's just, it almost needs to, like when you do the paste command, it needs to pop up a warning and be like, hey, like be sure you're thinking about this. All right, so for each tile, so for tile in tiles, we do, and then if what are we going to do here? We want to check to make sure. Do we even need to update? So we're doing a loop here for cell and used cells. Okay. So I don't think we even care about. So that's tile name. So we go like this. Okay. Object equals tile preload. Tile name. So I think we're getting there. What is it mad about? On base GDScript without name. Invalid set index. Oh, we need to instantiate. Huh. Instance. Here we go. Load. What am I doing wrong here? Packed scene. Load. How do we instance? Preload instance. Let me go back. I'm going to compare. How was I doing this before? I have the Doom music stuck in my head. Not quite sure why. New. I was doing .new. New. What's going on? New. Is that the Whoa. Okay, let's try that. New. Invalid index warp on base dictionary. What are you talking about, warp? Oh, there's no value. Okay, so we have to check. We still need to check. Cell objects. Cell objects. What the hell is cell objects? Okay, so that's just something I added just to make sure we don't double ourselves. I don't even think I need that. I can trust the code. Okay, well, regardless, we want to say if we're doing it here. Oh, we can just do if. Okay, so basically if we do this, then we're just checking to make sure it exists. Invalid get index. Right, because it doesn't have. Oh, leave me alone. Has. There we go. Is that right? Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to call that out. Let's just make sure that we have a non-void function must return a valuable value. Okay. I don't know why I specified a return type at all. Okay, so there's our bad boys. They're on the screen again. So that means we're good. That means that what's happening here is that it is instantiating the object based off of. So this is dope. Now we have it. We're getting there, boys and girls, I suppose. Though mostly boys. Let's be honest. The sausage fest here. Yeah, so right here we got our tile sets, and then in here we've got our individual tiles, and we can give the tile a name, right? So that we're good on that, and then that name shows up here in this list when we're in tile map that loads this script, and then right here we paste the GDScript location that we want it to use when it instantiates the sprite equivalent, because as we recall, we have to use the sprites. We can't use the actual tile map images, but this is so useful for level editing because we can just go like this, pop, 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 pop. But we have to instantiate the sprites because of how the area 2D stuff works, and the area 2D is not collisions but overlaps, so we can detect those overlaps on the player when they go over these elements. So yeah, so it's looking good. So now when we want to create a new one, we just make a new script. And the only thing that's like a rule that we have to follow when we're making the game presently is that for the ground types, so if we go into stage editor and scripts down here, we have ground entities. They need to inherit ground entity, which is like the base class. And this is just responsible for cloning the behavior of the sprite that comes from the painting of it on the tile map. So like you can do the rotation and all that stuff. And so we're mirroring that when we instantiate the sprite. And then we also set up the connections for the area shapes. So all things like the conveyor inherit this. And we have some leftover stuff that we're using to do directional stuff. So that's all set. And oh my gosh, I think It's so funny. It feels like I'm afraid to start making these obstacles, but it's really because I want to make sure I have my ducks in a row. And I feel like we might be close. There's some stuff going on here that I don't quite know why I was doing it that way. So I'm going to get rid of that return type. And yeah, I think let's just double check the scene tree too. Let's go over here in our debugger and look at the scene tree. I want to make sure that our, yeah, so they've got the what happened? Hold on. Did we crash? Or did I hit something that caused it to? It seems fine. It really does already feel smoother. There's also a mathematical problem here. You'll notice it's actually slowing down when it should be speeding up on the conveyor. So that's some maths that I gotta fix. Yeah, so that's looking good. Our player movement script is looking really good. This is the move code here. Let me get this out of the way. So this is looking good. Yeah, it looks kind of meaty, but it's I can eyeball this real easy. And it's just stacking some conditions. And so these are necessary. Like if mod direction, then we do these two scenarios. Like this one, or we go deeper. And then we use return true as a sort of break to get out of. Like once we have a movement from the player, then we don't do anything else. And that helps me prevent a lot of like, not quite recursion, but like some weird double checks that I had to do. I don't have to do any of that anymore. It just reads a lot better. And then in my physics process, we just have move player and we pass it delta. And then it does all this crazy stuff here. And I believe that I can get a lot of this to be even better. With some more refactoring. Like I was thinking I need I have this opposing axis, but really I need opposite direction is what I really need. And I have something that I call that, but it's not quite right. Because I was thinking about it. It's not truly the opposite direction of what I'm doing. I have a lot of assumptions that I can safely make, but I would much rather not have to make those. And so I've been thinking about how to handle that. And I think it's actually going to be using an array and doing some clever inversion of values on it. And then putting that back into a vector. And I think that's how I can get around that. Or not get around it, but make that happen. So let's commit this. Yeah, let's do this. We'll commit this. Let's look at it again one more time here real quick, though. Is there any little notes I need to leave for future Matt so I don't have an aneurysm when I look at this? Visible false. Let's put that up at the top. Why are we waiting? Okay, so we're setting ourselves to not be visible. Get used cells. So that's all the cells that we painted. Then we cycle through and we create the cell sprites, let's call it. Sprite objects. Okay, and then what are we doing here? We're setting up So, Cobalt, you've been kind of perusing Godot. I was asking you. I think you had to take off when I was asking you, like what was your perspective on it, having been using Unity, And I think he had to leave. So now we're loading associated sprites using script locations in editor. Dope. I thought that was going to be a lot harder than it was. So I'm really excited about that. I'll push that out to Darren. Push. Okay, so that goes out. And yeah, if they're empty, they simply will not, like, you'll paint them in here. But when you run the game, if you have not associated a script to it, then they just aren't going to show up. So like if I do this and then I run that, the only one's going to show up is the white one and the conveyor belts, because those are the only ones that have the associations with them. So they don't get instantiated because there's nothing to give them to create them with. So now we can start making these things, right? He said, with a little bit of throw up in his mouth. So let's do it. Now I have a bunch of ideas and I'm a moron and I didn't write them down. So that's already off to a good start. So we have our break here and we have this function called pressed. This gets fired when we enter the space of, I believe. Where are you coming from? We have that fire. Okay, let's start looking. Let's start getting serious about this. We're going to go here. We're going to make this our top, and then you'll be on the bottom. Come down here. And okay, you must be coming from here. No. Is this firing on? Where's this firing from? Pressed. Oh, that's tile map. We want pressure plate. There we go. There we go. Emit signal pressed. So that's coming from the pressure plate. Cool. Get rid of the tile map. We don't need that right now. Conveyor, you'll come down here. Get rid of player. Cool. So far, so good. Okay. So how's the C++ stuff going? Tafiki. Is it coming along? Oh, thanks, Splash. That was weird. I was looking right at the the YouTube page when that popped in. Don't stroke my ego too much, because you haven't seen me really spaghetti things up. It's just the way I approach things. Because there's that blank page problem where you just have to get the thing going, and that's when I write my worst code. Because I'm just trying to like make it happen, and then it's like, okay, so let's look at everything I did wrong, and that's usually like a couple streams later. Okay, so yeah, pressure plate. Okay, so we've got a state. I even set up a state ahead of time. Yeah, that's for whether or not it's being pressed or not. Okay. Oh no, that's on the conveyor. So we could do a state on the pressure plate though. Yeah, we do need to, because we're gonna need to be able to know whether. I mean, I guess this. Well, let's come up with some things. What are we gonna do with the pressure plate? We could stop the conveyor belts with the pressure plate, right? So, yeah, I think I still need to do some editor work here, because like I was saying, we want to be able to put these in and then have some configurable properties. And that's what I was going to use this tab for. So I do think we need to get that stuff going, because otherwise we're going over here and we're going to have to start hand coding things, and that's not going to work for multiple levels, right? So yeah, see, like right here was a hand code that I was doing to connect those signals in. Yep. So that's we've got to have the equivalent of this basically in our tile map object editor right here. And this is a Splash, what are you doing game dev yourself or like anything like that? So there's our tile map object editor. Okay, so this scene here is this here, if you can believe it. He's beginning to believe. Now, if we go to our inspector and we put some text here and we save it, is it going to be instant? No. Oh my goodness, I have to close Godot every time I want to see this change. Is that for real? Are you for real right now? All right, let's see. We're going to close this and reload. That's one thing I like about it is it is fast to open. Yeah, so there's the text. So like I said, in the add-ons, I've got this tile map object editor. That's how we make a plugin that's part of the editor itself. These expanded elements that I was doing in here, the ground entities are, you can do this on a script, an associated script with a particular node. But these additional stuff like this, or if you want to make something that shows up down here, or like on the side or whatever, or even in this scene space, then you're writing, essentially you're writing a plugin. And I've been debating, I feel like it might make sense down here actually. So there's some key things here, which is I've got a detection going on output here. You'll see if I click, the selection change is firing. And I believe that's actually happening in the plugin code. Let's go to the plugin. Yeah, so I was doing some tests here. Yeah, and the connection to the selection change. So that is right here. That's where the print is coming from. So if I bring it down like this. So what I was thinking of doing is having this be like not showing up unless you select the related, the thing that supports it, right? In this case, I would just check the name of the thing. If it's called ground entities, then we'll have this pop up. And I was thinking about having it down here because I want to show a list of all the painted tiles. And I would do it in order from left to right. I think that's actually how the array is formatted. And so it would be easy for the person doing the level editing if we did wrapping based on that. You would essentially see, I could do spacing even so that you would see like a kind of a clone of the stage here. And the reason why I have to do it weirdly like that instead of in here is because I wanted it to be where you could click these buttons and then have those properties show up here, but you can't do that. And then I was thinking, oh, well, you can do the select button here and then pick the what it is you're wanting to select. What the hell did I do? Let's not save. That was weird. But I can't know when that happens even. What the F is this? Who are you? Huh. Well, anyways. Yeah, because preferably I would like it where you could just pick the element on the screen and then see those values, but you can't. You just can't. Anyways, long story short. So, all right. So, okay. Okay, so we can get Selection changed. There's the selection. Get selected nodes. Nodes, plural. So if I go like this. Oh, so it's an array. Is it? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we can kind of make this selection, get selection. Var nodes equals get selected nodes. Then we're going to say, since it's an array, we can get the count. And basically, we're only going to even do this if they're selecting one. They need to be selecting one array element. Or one, the array needs to have one. And because I don't want to have it show up if you're selecting a bunch of them. I just, when you click here, then this, shows up. So we need to count. So we're going to look over here at size, and we're going to say if nodes size equals 1, then we do something. And we're going to say if node size equals 1 but it can be, no, this only fires if you've selected something. So it absolutely, I don't have to do a check for, so, and, yeah, it's just that the snapping and stuff, I'd still have to like if I want that snappiness of like the space, and I want that so that we're dealing with these exact like areas and spaces and stuff like that. And if I'm just instantiating a sprite on a scene, then I can put it literally anywhere. And so I don't have that like strict sort of snapping. And I suppose I could somehow put that in, but there's a lot about the design of this stuff that I believe, like for instance, we're going to be having, this is like just like a test tile, but we're going to have these layers and they're all going to have the same strict like areas. And so as we start to do the artwork, hopefully it'll make more sense why I'm doing it this way. But I'm just doing a bit more work to make what I'm hoping means that we can be more creative. You can enable snapping on the scene objects when placing them. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, like, we're still going to be using tiles. But I suppose it's just that what the other thing that'll start happening when we do that is our scene tree is going to start to just get full of stuff. I suppose I could do it that way. It's one of those things I did get stuck on where I was like debating on the best approach. And I was really hoping, because I mean, you have, in my personal opinion, there shouldn't have been any reason why I couldn't have done it in the tile map in the first place, except that there were some limitations in some of the concepts that they were using for this stuff. So I didn't even know that I was not going to have it work until I tried it. But it's like, if a tile map gets me everything I want, except for a few things. Yeah, I do see what you're saying, though. Because then I could easily have, well, kind of. It does, the idea of doing it the other way presents its own host of problems. I do feel like ultimately I'd still be doing pretty much the same things. the only time I was looking back on the days that I was working on like the Area 2D stuff, and it was really only 3 days, which was really just 5 hours of work to find out, you know, that part of my code was lost. Basically, it was a waste. Yeah, and I'm still doing that. Yeah, I mean, like for instance, there's no reason why we won't be able to set up for instance, to use a pun. Think about it this way. So right now I'm just using scripts for the conveyors and stuff, like my hand scripted stuff. But there's no reason why we won't be able to, if we feel like we want to, gosh, why am I not? I need to grab it from here because I can't remember. There it is, grounded to these style. So there's no reason why we can't, like here, if we wanted to, we can pop in a scene instead of a script. That's totally possible, and it'll load just the same. There might be some additional changes that I would have to make, but we can prefab everything in scenes if we wanted to. But even then, so if we were to do sprites, there's problems with that. So for instance, like we'd actually like this stuff here. You'd have to, you know, type in the manual rotation and stuff like that. You get that free with the editor. So there's certain things like that. But yeah, I mean, essentially, my idea is beyond the initial scope of what Godot can do in certain senses. But I do feel like there's going to be some payoff in the ability to just do this quick, you know? Like I think this right here is time saved, tremendous amount of time saved. But I know you could, I know you can do an instance of it, the same way. There's definitely different ways to skin a horse. Is that? Anyways, let me go back to what I was doing. Well, yeah, let's see. Where's the snapping that we're talking about? So this is here's an instanced sprite. Do we do snapping here? Smart snap. So what is making... Okay, so that's the snap right there. So how would we define the grid that it's snapping to? Configure snap. Right there. You'd have to do a lot of hiding. Because like right now, yeah. Yeah. So when you go, like if you go to maze and you try to select, what is going on right now? So you'd have to find it in the list. because you can't just. This is locked even, but that's only that you don't accidentally move it. But like I can't pick the player, like as the player as an example. That's one element. But like if we had a bunch painted on here, like instance scenes, then I would have to like click around here to try and find. Like I can click on it here sometimes, but if I'm above it, I can't click on it. Okay, I literally have to find the right one. How do people handle this when they're... Sorry, I've never actually just popped a bunch of sprites on the screen to start. How do people... like if you're here and you just want to select this, okay, that works. So if you're not... Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I might have gotten a long way around it. It would be frustrating to realize if I just abandon it. So the other thing that we were trying to figure out, if you recall, was the weird spacing issue, which everyone was encouraging me to abandon. But the reason why that problem existed is because the player sprite is larger than the wall sprite. So that created its own host of problems. Everyone said, oh, you can just have a fixed grid on it. But it's like, no, it actually has to be half steps. So I spent a lot of time trying to, that's why I kind of, I have to pick and choose what I try to do. Because, I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out based on what I was being told by other people. And then ultimately, I just realized that just can't happen the way that everyone thought it could. I mean, yeah, each of these could be their own deals. I guess am I recreating... Mayhaps. What time is it? Or how long have I been streaming? Okay, 53 minutes. Yeah. And then we can still use... because I believe on a sprite, you can still load the sprite from what do they call it? An atlas texture. And if we're all loading from the same atlas texture, golly. It's funny. I didn't even know that stuff existed. And that's why I was going down this rabbit hole. So if we set up the configure snap to be 32, I believe that's what we're... Nope, it's 64. There we go. So now what happens to the player? Now the player is offset. Don't save. Yeah. Because of the... Can we offset the snapping? Yeah, we can. So we can be negative 32 by... I guess it doesn't have to be negative. And now the player snaps right there. Holy snap balls. I didn't even know, I did not know that was even possible. Yeah, they have the H flip and the V flip, but you still have to use rotation. Like, remember when I was you might not have been here when I was writing it, but like you have to hand do rotation in the sprite. And again, I mean, because I can know when. So like, here's the rotation in degrees. So H flip and V flip don't give you everything. Because there's times where you still have to rotate. So like you'd have to hand plug in the number here, but I could always write, because I can know when this is happening in the associated script, and I can create that snapping. And probably, I'm guessing, you can probably set snapping on that somehow. But I can do that in code pretty easily for that behavior. Well, shoot. Let's see what happens when we... So the collision is still in the same point. Okay. Let's not save that. Should I just do it? What benefits, if any, would I be losing? Because this is essentially the same thing as when you instantiate and you have the associated script. Yeah, I think you might be right. I mean, there would be if we forget to have this on and we move something, that would seriously F things up with collisions because it's so specific. Like the other thing that I was having problems with Godot, and the reason why I got so set on tiles, no, see, I would still have a virtual grid. What I would then need to do is on the other end, I would need to I'm really thinking about this because, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to completely throwing out all that. And again, it's still like I wouldn't be losing too much. Oh, God. It would be 2 weeks. Down the tubes. Let's see. So stuff like this I'd still need. Because I would still need to know that information about the sprite. So like that code's not lost. This right here would be down. Well, I'd rather it just never be possible. So like and that's one of the reasons why I was gravitating towards tile map, is because I just don't want it to be possible to have that kind of screw up. And grid snap. So I wonder if there's a way to check the grid snapping in code. Oops, let's do space. Is it? And is this project wide? Like if I save this, let me go, let's check the, wait, what is it? What's changed on this? What's holding the grid snap? Yeah. Thanks. So basically they'd just be nested in here. Well, I mean, you know how I got there, right? Originally, it was like, well, we should just be able to build everything in the tile map. And then the one thing where I got the area collision working exactly. Well, no, because I had everything I needed, right? I was like, okay, well, we have a tile map that gives us a strict grid built in. And the only thing I had to figure out was that collision thing. And then I got that figured out, and I was like, all right, great. But the one thing that caused this to be a problem was the idea of stopping the animations. Because the way that the tile map works is it loads a single texture for all the set tile points. And when you stop the animation on that, it stops it for every single instance of that texture. And that's when I was like, oh, I have to blow this out into the sprites. But the reason why I was going tile map is because, well, like the maze, is a grid. And so it just makes a lot of sense. And like being able to paint like this, that's the tile map. That's the beauty of the tile map, right? And like, so you get a lot of benefit to it. And so it's just like, well, this whole thing is maze driven, and the logic that I can put in code can encompass everything. But if I go with sprites, then it's like everything is outside of that bound. And so that's why I was thinking tile map. I'm just worried if I start going that route, because I only did the instantiation for one issue, and that was the animation thing. But if I start going outside of that, I do worry that let's see. Signals. Let's think about signals. Yeah, it was really like, because I had it all working, remember? And then it was, I don't know how much of it you saw, but it was like, okay, well, we can do everything in the tile map. It wasn't a problem. It was the overlapping collisions. Right. But that's the thing is like, okay, I could translate the overlap on the set element, and It's just there's this, being able to do this. And then I can also, like those strict checks going on here. I could have a virtual grid. That's all coming from the tile map. Because, like, you know, with a sprite like this, you could easily because I was still imagining doing sprites for anything that moves on the screen. So the tile map stuff, the objects on the ground, I always imagined as being strictly on the ground. But sprites was absolutely like in the scene, like enemies and stuff like that. I always imagined that we'd place them on the screen. Well, it doesn't change the kind of code I can write when I start creating the obstacles. Like, none of that would be wasted if I started working on that. Because even the inheritance of this whole thing, everything's inheriting from a sprite. They're just instance based off the location of a set tile. And what I was gonna see if I could do before you started suggesting this was I was hoping, and I was just gonna start writing the code. What I was hoping to be able to do is, just like you can expose the variables when you set it to a tool and then you do export on the variable, I was basically going to see if that was the case where, you know, we can... You know, the other way I could do this is, yeah, you do it, you paint here just like you would, you know, since I have all this going and I have some of the logic determined here, and then literally when you paint it, it could instantiate the sprite right here in the scene, so I keep what I'm talking about. Because right now what I'm doing is I'm only doing that in... I think we can have it both ways, is what I'm saying. Kind of like how I wish we had handled COVID. But what I mean to say is that yeah, I think we could paint it and then it would just, yeah, because like I don't even think I'd have to change that much. And then we can just move on. Because we can have what you're talking about. Because that's exactly what's happening when the game loads. So, for instance, where would we... Yeah, so essentially, we would do it on set cell. So right here, so if we change this idea here of update cell object, right, and we just do it on set cell. So we go here and we take this, and then we go and we say set cell, and then we say so we have the set cell fire, and then we say update cell, and what are we treating this as? Get cell v. So get cell v. Let's look at that. I think I can get this going right now. I think we just had it, but we're going to be able to do it both ways. Get cell v returns the tile index of the cell given by the vector 2. Vector 2. So we use x and y on set cell, and we say vector 2, integer. Wait, hang on. Get LV returns the tile index. Let me just copy this. And we just go tile. That's the integer. Okay, so hang on. So tile here. Okay, so in theory, if we close out, don't save, and then we go here again, if this is working, when I place, okay, so what's it mad about? Invalid function get cell V in base tile map. Cannot convert argument 1, line 32. Oh, because it has to be a used cell. Because it's looping through a ton of stuff. So if tile is not invalid, cell. So why? Oh, we need to add it to the scene tree now instead. So instead of, okay, so let me just, yeah, so we're going to have it both ways. I don't think you're wrong, because then what I get for free is if they show up here as children, then we can click on each individual one like I'm talking about. And actually, I could write it. I could possibly write it where, maybe not. But when you hover over here, you on the bottom left of the screen, do you see where it says 5,2 conveyor? So it tells you the name and everything. And if we have, like, we get the quick painting, and then on the scene, it's loading it's adding the children. You get what I'm saying? And then, so we get what I was talking about. We get both. And then what we get is, so we instantiate a scene with that, or we don't instance it. We add it as the scene, as an instance scene underneath here. And then when we click on one of those instances, then we can have in the inspector what I'm talking about, which is like a bunch of stuff that you can configure. And now we're using the engine again and not having to build we're not having to build some custom thing. I'm totally not opposed to changing a bunch of stuff, but there is a reason why I want to stick with the tile map. So we can have both. I'm really excited about that. Because I do like the painting, and I want this strict grid and the ability to, like, right here, just pick something and paint it, just for the rapid prototyping and like creating of the level. That's what I was thinking, but once we started doing animated, that's what screwed it up, blah, blah, blah. I've said that before. Okay, so the problem that we're running into, so we need to add, okay, so we don't even need this anymore, so that's gone. This name is no longer valid. And actually, I don't even think any of this is used anymore. This is all old code when I was trying to do other stuff. Anyways, so what we need to do here is simply add to the scene tree. So let's go to scene tree. I definitely appreciate the criticism. Like, I don't know that I would call it criticism, but like being able to say that. Because I definitely don't, like, I'm not a, like, if I've been doing something wonky this whole time, then so be it. Like, good, better to know than not. Yeah, exactly. Just add a child to the parent. I'm just like blanking on it. So, we have the string, yeah, so that's what we would do. So get parents, add child, object. So instead of, so just add child, object. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. Do we need to, because it's going to be in the scene tree, because I was doing this on run. So we keep the name, we keep all of this. So what is it mad about? Is it because I'm doing, yeah, that's what I have here. It's a deferred call. Maybe that's the problem, because we don't need to defer it anymore. So let me check. I believe it's node. Yeah, it's just some of my code is not right for this anymore. Because why do I have, like, I'm wondering why I have add child, then you bring the node in. So it's add child, and then I would put the object inside of it. That was the problem. Okay. Object obstacle tile map self. So that tells us the, okay. I think this will work. We need to close and reopen because of just how this works. And let's try. Okay, what is it mad about? Invalid type in function. Cannot convert one argument from init. Are they both 30? Line 30. Get, okay. Almost got it, guys. X, Y. All right, let's try it again. Don't save. And okay, we got a bunch of new errors. Invalid call, non-existent function is cell X flip on base conveyor line 44. So now it's mad. GDScript native class. What the hell is it talking about? That's not. Extends. Right. Conveyor. Let's go to conveyor. Almost there. Ground entity. Invalid call, non-existent function. These aren't lining up to. Here we go. Obstacle tile map. Far. Okay, so we're. Oh, it's because I'm setting it before we. It's after. So I have to set everything. Where are we? So like I did this, but we need to do this. before we add that, and that should fix it. Don't save. Because I was doing the delay, I could set that later. Okay, so add effect. Okay, so we're almost there. It's weird though, this is the incorrect script that it's referring to, because it's actually the parent that it's talking about. So it's like off. Add effect. Okay, so is this actually 17? Add effect. Entity. Okay. Okay, so now we're in reality again. Non-existent function add effect on base node entity.gd. Let's see. It's right there. What are you talking about? Let me comment this out. I just want to see it add it to the scene. You know, I want to make sure that's working, because I think I know why some of it's pissy, and it has to do with like, okay, why is it not in the tree? Is there something I have to do to refresh the scene tree? Because it's there. You can tell it's a little bit thicker. That's what she said. So let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit thicker because it's drawn twice. One's underneath. So why don't we see it? Let me save. I'm going to reload the scene. There it is. Huh. I wonder, do we have to... There it is. So why is it not showing up in the tree? Is there something we have to do to refresh it? Because it should be showing up here with the tile map. Is there like a refresh scene tree? Whoops. And what's weird about it too is I'm saving. Oops, I duplicated. So like, what's the problem? Yeah, this is the best of both worlds. And I mean, it means that I wasted my time on this, but that was only a day and a half, right? So nothing too bad. And I keep everything else, and that makes me happy. I'm just confused why it's not showing up. How do we refresh the scene tree? Yeah, exactly. And that's like, you never get it right the first time. My daughter actually really struggles with that. She is not like me at all in a lot of ways. But one of the things that is really hard to deal with is that she really wants to get things right the first time and be perfect at it the first time, which for a kid is just like not going to happen. And so she gets extremely frustrated and will shut down if she doesn't get it exactly right the first time. So I've been really trying to work with her on like handling that. So let's just look at scene tree here. But you still aren't answering my question about Godot. What do you think about Godot? Tell me. So let's see what's next. Reload current scene. I wonder if add child, because add child, let's go back to where I was. Is it? Oh, no. That's not what we want. Let's go back more. No. Is it under node? Yeah. As a child node, the nodes can have any number of children, but every node must have a unique name. Children nodes are automatically deleted when the parent node is deleted, so an entire scene will be removed by deleting the topmost node. If you want a child to be persistent, it's because I'm not using a scene. So, okay, that's fine. It's really just pretty much like any other game making software when it comes down to it. It's nice it's free and open source. Yeah. What I liked about it, like, because before this I had done Game Maker, and that was a nightmare for project management. And I don't know why. I'm just hesitant to like. It's not like I don't. Like, I can obviously just pick up another language pretty quickly, but I don't know why I've been so hesitant to try Unreal and Unity. So I think it's because it's not a scene. It's not a packed scene. If you want the child to be persisted to a packed scene, you must set owner in addition to calling add child. This is typically relevant for tool scripts or other editor plugins. If it is added child without setting the owner, the newly added node will not be visible in the scene tree. There's my answers right there. Okay, so we have to set owner. Okay, so set owner. A node can have any other node as an owner as long as it is a valid parent, grandparent, etc. When saving a node using a pack scene, all the nodes. So if I go here and I say object dot set owner, and then I just say get parent, and I'm just setting the parent as the owner. Will this fix it? Don't save. Ground. Oops. Delete. Okay, now let's try condition What is it mad about? Node. It has to be a node. Do I have to do it after it's been added? Let's see. Don't save. Set owner. If you want the child to be persisted to a pack scene. So this is exactly what I'm experiencing. So I'm doing something wrong with set owner. I don't quite know what. We could do, let's get rid of the parent because then this will put it underneath. Okay, so let's save this. We're almost there. One of these days it's just going to fire off. Node not found. Oh. Look at all that nonsense. What is this? Editor node. Root editor node. The hell is it talking about? Relative. So it's using a relative position in the scene tree. Okay. So I think I've got it. I'm almost there. I'm not giving a script to it. I'm giving it a new scene. What does this error mean? Condition no owner valid is true. So this was interesting. What happened here? It isn't a packed scene, no. I mean so it says here, if you want child to be persisted to a packed scene, you must set owner in addition to calling add child. So normally, like when you add child to a pre-packed scene, like a scene that you've made, you don't have to do this set owner thing. So can I, like, let me see, let me do set owner to self. And then we'll try it again. Because like it's, the way I'm reading that is that it's going to pack, when I tell it to instance the scene, if I can never get this dang thing to work, is it's going to pack it's going to pack it up into a scene and add it to the tree in here. Like yeah. Let me read about this. For a scene file. Well, shit. That really doesn't. Yeah, I see the problem. Why? But why is it talking about? If you want the child to be persisted to a pack scene. Right. Well, there is none. But when the game is running, I can add. Well, the problem. So the thing that here's what I'm thinking. Is that if I can't, because at this point, then yeah, I might as well not use a tile map, because now the problem is. Damn it. Right. Which is then it's like, why am I even using a tile map? Because I'm officially. I don't understand why it has to be. It's funny because then why does it say? I guess my problem with this is it says it takes a node, and that's exactly what I'm giving it. I'm giving it a node, and it works. Technically, it works, but it doesn't show up in the scene tree. if you want the child to be persisted to a packed scene. Shit. Yeah. Well, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Fudge. Well, no, I mean, the way I was doing this was I was instantiating the all of these elements as sprites. The problem is the scene tree. This thing, not the remote scene tree, not when the game is running. Because you're always going to need to be able to like instantiate new scenes on the fly. You can't have everything guaranteed that everything that you ever need on the screen is going to be there. You have to be able to pop it out. I've never had to do, when I've instantiated a scene, I've never had to do the set owner. A pack scene. That's why I think what they're saying here is to be persisted to a pack scene, you must set the owner. Because I can instantiate those scripts I have, they have no scene, right? I'm doing it all in code. As far as like the ground entity and everything like that, I'm extending a sprite and I'm creating it on the fly, like without a scene associated with it. Oh my God. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the minute that we have to be creating our own custom scenes for everything, then the tile map idea is a wash. Well, everything's a node. So, I mean, like, so sprite, whoops. Sprite technically is node 2D. So like, it inherits node 2D, canvas item, node object. It's all of these things. But I think the problem is that this visual thing in editor needs to have each element it shows here. Yeah, there's something that you're not. Okay. When the game is running, there's the remote scene tree. That's the game, the actual game that's running. So, like, I've already done it, right? In game, I can add these things on there without having to have a packed scene or anything like that. That was one of the reasons why I liked what I was doing as far as an approach was concerned. The problem becomes that the idea of... I just wanted to be able to take all this work that I did and be able to just put it in here as a scene. But the problem is that this concept here in the editor wants it to be a packed scene. That's something that I'm not doing when the and obviously I've rewritten a lot of code here, but I was simply instantiating. No, it's not going to show up because it's not a packed scene. That's the problem. That's what I'm saying. So now what I'm saying is, so going down that path means that I have to abandon all of this. Like the tile map thing just isn't going to work, because the problem then becomes, well, now we're going to have a tile set, and then we're going to go and then we're going to create a sprite, and then we're going to go pick up the image, and then like it all just sort of falls apart at that point. And there's no reason to use the tile map. Because unless there's a way for me to create a packed scene, in code, which may be possible. I don't know. And that's what I thought. Yeah. So this is a packed scene right here, because this points to another one, right? But yeah, the conveyor and all those things don't exist as scenes whatsoever. They're added to the scene tree when the game is running, but they don't exist as saved scenes, so to speak, on their own, because it's all in code. Because I was trying to do this dynamically associated to the tile maps. Yeah, I get that. But do you understand what I'm trying to do, though? Like, I was trying to make it so that when you paint something here, that the minute you paint it on the set tile, then it adds that sprite scene here, which is possible. Oh, but wait a minute. Okay, so if I create like a placeholder scene, the question becomes, can I add the associated script to it? I think we still can do this. So, and maybe that's what you were trying to tell me. I'm not sure, but ground sprite. So if we just have a default, like basically just a placeholder sprite, and I think we can do it. If I create a placeholder scene, and then when it's added here, we set the sprite value and all that stuff, then I can load from the pack scene. The only thing I wonder is, can I set the script association? Okay. Yeah, if we were talking in person, I'd be able to follow more. Attach script. So that's the only problem is, can I attach a script to an instantiated, adding a scene to the scene tree like that? Is there a way to attach the script in code? Because otherwise that would be a pain in the ass to have to do it every time. And that means I don't lose this crap that I did. It must have been frustrating, because you're like, no, I'm not talking about that. That means I have to rewrite a little bit of this. Not entity. Get out of here. Okay, well, I have my work cut out for me tomorrow, but I really wanted to keep the scene tree stuff, because god dang it, I'm still of the mind that this is useful. Just to be able to just paint quickly, and then, like, because yeah, I keep all of that work I did. This is actually, it is going to be a little weird, because yeah, you'll paint something here, the new element will be added here. The only problem I really have with it is that, it's going to be underneath, but if you hover over it, you'll see the vector coordinate, and then you can easily find it in there. And even if we decide to bail on it still is a useful tool to just paint where you want where like sprites that you want. I don't think we're going to get rid of it at all. Because then you just make this invisible. There'll be children here, and then you'll still see them. And you can click on them, literally click on them, and then get those values that you wanted. And then whenever you want to add new ones, you go back here and you paint them. And then if you decide to erase one, you erase it. And then I've got the vector name in the scene tree, and I just dump it. So I think this is going to work really good. Yeah. No, I think dude, I really appreciate you talking to me about this, because you're right, and I was hesitant about some of the stuff I was doing, but this wasn't a waste. So I'm not wasting anything. This is great, and we get what you're talking about. So I don't feel like a total loser. Ah, gosh, what a day. No, I appreciate it. Splash some cold water on my face. Thanks. So this is still good. We still keep this. Here's the other reason. I'll tell you, Cobalt, the other reason why we were wanting to do this is because we were thinking about biomes and the idea of having levels with different biomes and things like that. And the tile set stuff, if we know that we're going to have different biomes and we want things to look slightly differently per biome, then the beauty of doing the tile set way, it would be as simple as changing the tile set right here, and we just swap it out, and then suddenly it would just look completely different. And so we could just easily swap back and forth like that. But if we were doing it on per sprite level, on a per sprite basis, it'd be really hard to go back and forth like that. So that was one of the things that I was thinking as I was building this. Because we talked about what it was we wanted to do, and went from there. So I'm glad that, it's just okay. So now, still making progress. That's good. Not 2 steps forward, just 2 steps to the side in a different direction. So we're still good. But so I need to make that scene. And then the only question is this attached script. Maybe it's not called that. Set script. There it is. So set script. It's in GDScript. Object set script. A script implemented in a G. Okay. Sweet. Extends an existing object if that object class matches one of the script's base classes. That should do it. And it's always going to be a sprite. So we can set the script as well. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Sweet. Oh, thank God. I was starting to freak out there because I don't think you're wrong. That's the thing, is like, he's not wrong. It's like, well, we keep everything I'm doing. I'm doing some weird stuff, I admit it. But yeah, now, I mean, this, thank God. And then we can do some extra weird stuff on the individual sprite bases. And we keep this. I don't know why this is here. I gotta figure out if I can get rid of that. And poop is still there. Did I keep that in the... Is it up there? Oh yeah, it is. That's funny. Yeah. So so yeah, the nice thing is we're gonna have this nice little scene tree, duplicate it, pop out another level, paint it. And I think once we start setting the, so we're getting there. It just takes a little bit of time. Yeah, it's getting there. Well, thanks for screwing everything up, Cobalt. I really appreciate it. I'm kidding. Nice. I'll have to check it out. I'll watch that stream. I got to stop though. I got to start working on some homeschooling stuff for my kid. I have to be a good teacher. I don't feel like I am sometimes. Yeah. You know, and the other thing is like, you know, in theory, we're sort of building an engine, sort of, not really, but we're just building elements of a thing that will allow you to make a thing. And although I am learning some, I mean, this is interesting that you could like have something show up, but only at that period of time. And then like when you come and you go from it, like if you don't save this, I don't know, there's some interesting stuff that you could do now that I know that you can kind of make things appear inside this and not have them exist in the game. That's really interesting to me because there's a lot of interesting stuff you could do to assist the person making the game by doing that. For sure. And again, like knowing that certain things are happening. Oh, sorry. Shit. Ah. Well, I mean, we were talking about like the idea that, you know, like for instance, this strict maze thing, whatever you want to call this, the hallways or the walls, you know, the collision spaces that exist in it. So like, oops, let me select that. There we go. Oh, it's doing that thing again. Don't save. Let's go close and reopen. Like if you could imagine that this is like, this thing here is, let's make it a little bit bigger. Like, here, let me start over. So, see, this is what I don't want to lose for sure. But if we were to do a plane crash, and so the fuselage thingy is like this. It's a little bit bigger here. And then it's got a wing that comes out here. I am the worst. Let's make a broken wing. And then there's another broken wing here. Or something. So what we're talking about doing is like making it so that what the player sees to highlight where the maze is actually the negative space in between the walls. This like prototyping stuff the player would never actually see, and that we would then replace it with like a sprite of like a wing buried in sand or something like that. And then I was imagining like the inside areas for the like that maze portions that would be, you know, within this space would be something like kind of a light glowing area just to indicate where the traversable paths are. Yeah. It's dealing with the thin walls everywhere. Yeah. Well, I mean, we could just go completely... I guess it's the idea of throwing it in organic space that really throws a wrench in some things. Yeah. I mean, if we just throw that idea away, what are we left with? I mean, it could just be a video gamer's video game where the art is... I mean, yeah. Well, let's get some obstacles on here and get going on that. Because maybe... Yeah. So are you guys talking about 3/4 view? The only reason why I'm what worries me about 3/4 is like I don't have to do, and this is another actually Cobalt, this is another reason why I was wanting to stick with the whole tile map thing. Because if we decided to do that, then I don't believe this snapping thing can maybe it can. I don't believe we can. Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to use that snapping stuff if we went that way. For sure. But yeah, so one of the reasons why I was wanting to stick to a tile map is because if we decide to change that, like whether we go 3/4 or not, all of the code that I have for the movement stuff is still good. Because you can change all of that in here in the self stuff, and you can get the 3/4 and all that stuff automatically, and then everything's still X and Y. Yeah, so as far as gameplay is concerned, the only concern I have about it is that the like hugging the corners and stuff like that, and what is up and what is down on the pad for the player when they're pushing which way to go kind of thing. Well, I'm talking about specifically when you're laying out sprites individually. not like that's when we start. If we started to do like 3/4 and angles and all that stuff, what I'm talking about is this in here. Because like right here we can go and do isometric. Well, maybe we can. Does it just keep? No. See, the snapping for the sprite is different than like, see, I set this to isometric and obviously the pixels now are not lined up for that. But this snapping, the thing that Cobalt was talking about, I don't believe you can tell it, hey, you're supposed to be isometric now. I don't believe you can. That's all I was talking about. And so that's why I was saying that's what are you talking about? Are you talking about like the Zelda? Because we were talking about the Zelda perspective. Is that what you're talking about? Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that would work too. I mean, if like I said, you can do that. I'm totally fine with that. With the walls on the one side. Yeah. I'm fine with that. And the thing is, like, the other thing that I was just thinking about, and I was kind of having an apostrophe about, is what I was thinking is not everything has to have a wall, because if like when the game runs, this isn't gonna the maze. What we have in our prototype, so we can easily visually see certain things. If we can get it where I forget what movie that's from. I think I'm having an apostrophe. It's I can't remember. But if we think about it like this, and we go, like, imagine for the player that, right, so what if there's no wall? What do we do then? And what I'm thinking is, if there's going to be areas where we kind of need to fudge it, that the player, like, that's, you know, think of this red space here as what the player sees as where they can go. Like, that there'll be like a sort of like a I don't know what to call it, like a maybe it'll be a gradient or something to indicate this is traversable paths. And then if that's the case, there doesn't necessarily have to be an element that represents a oh, that's what it's from. Yeah, it's from Hook. I was trying to remember. New Joker, how's it going? I couldn't recall. So, yeah, so like, there doesn't, if we make the path the obvious thing, then there really doesn't even need to be walls. Oh, nice. Is it homemade, or is it like Jake's Take and Bake? You don't know what that is. Is it like a take and bake or just a oven pizza? Yeah, and I'm not necessarily imagining like the frozen, unfortunately. Oh, that's a bummer. But it's still good though. I like the like thin crust frozen peaches, so it's like eating a cracker, like a baked cracker. But yeah, like, so the Pac-Man, whoa, man, talk about popper. I need a pop blocker. I already have one. It's still not enough. I said pop blocker, get your head out of the gutters. What was I saying? The other reason why I liked the Pac-Man walls thing is because of that. Like, we still haven't even decided the scale of like the grid, but what was I saying? So because there's that sort of off-stepping thing, it's more like you can use it to create more of an organic environment anyways, even though it's on a strict grid, because you can have that, like, not everything's on a square. And so if we make it smaller and we speed up the player character and we just know that we're going to have a little bit more like runway on certain things and stuff like that, then suddenly it's like, okay, well, now we can have like broader paths in like more like little areas, but then like more space around things. And then like, you know, so we have some options, but I do think the key to getting ideas like that is this obstacles and getting these obstacles going. And then once we have that, then we can go, and start to see like what sort of ideas do we get for it. Yeah. So we do need to decide, like, you know, zooming out here, is this right? You know, is this how small everything's going to be on screen? Right, exactly. And that's why I have to get the obstacles going. So I got to end the stream. But yeah, tomorrow what I'll do is we'll get that starter scene going. Yeah, exactly. No, we've already got Cobalt. We've already got that worked out. We're going to be Darren Tolomite is doing everything in and I don't know if you want me to say your real name on stream, Cobalt. That's why I'm not saying it. But Darren is working on in vectors, right? And I was talking to. Well, yeah, no, Darren. I meant you, but yeah. So he's doing everything in vectors, and so we'll be able to scale. That's why we don't have like a set. We don't quite know what we're gonna do with that yet, but we know we're using vectors. We're not doing pixel art. So even though obviously that's what you're kind of seeing on here, and we have like some, yeah. So, but yeah, then we can really figure out some of that stuff. But I mean, I think what it's probably going to look like is that you know, we have this like maze pattern thing, and I think that maybe the default is going to be just a completely filled in space of this is our screen space, basically, you know. It'll be like, here's all the set cells. And then what we'll actually end up doing when we're creating levels is we'll be erasing space and be like, okay, well, here's the path that the player is going to be taking. And then some of the other more complicated concepts that were kind of floating around as ideas is state, that the maze itself will have its state change, and that you can cause certain events to occur that will change the world, the maze world, I guess you could say. Like maybe you cause some lava or something. I'm just throwing, you know, none of this is anything that we've actually determined, but and so that would change the sort of the, yeah. Well, I gotta get those obstacles going. So yeah, so like this, and then you start to draw out, you know, different paths that the player would be taking. Yeah, so we got to get the obstacles going, because that's everything hinges on that being able to do anything fun. If that isn't fun, then we don't have a game. So the idea of having like the player that moves fast and maybe enemies that chase it, and then fun interactable elements, and if that works, then we go forward on everything else in a real more dramatic way. And we're so close to that. We're so close. Like this week is, I really feel like this is the week. Anyways, so like I'm saying, tomorrow I'll make that new scene, and then we'll just go from there. And if we can get it to where you can paint the tile map in there, and then it shows up in this as a element that we can then have those configurable things that I'm talking about, then everything that I was wanting to do is then possible still. And it, yeah. Sorry, I'm trailing off. I got old man brain. Dominic, you're gonna sneak your way into this. He's like, I'm gonna be making this too. I know the desire to work with other people. I understand that 100%. It's like, look what I did. Give me your source code. I just want to look at it. And then pretty soon he's gonna be like, look what I made. No, I really appreciate it though. Your willingness to say that is speaks volumes. I really appreciate that for sure. Okay, so yeah, Zelda look I'm totally fine with. And that can that really can change things as well too. But I'm also fine with there being negative space where like it's a desert and it's just sort of like, it doesn't have to be that there's a strict wall so much as like, oh, there's a valley here in the language of the design of the level is telling me that this is the only path I can take. And we can come up with an excuse as to why it is that way. Like if we want some logical reason, like for instance, the tread of the robot or whatever it is can only go over certain types of surfaces. So, it whatever. But yeah, we could have more, I don't know. Yeah. Have you guys ever played Overcooked? Because one of the things that happens in that game is as you're playing the stage, and you're just getting used to it, it changes on you. And that's something that so maybe, I don't know. And the other thing that I've been really thinking about is, yeah. So if we can have a little bit more leeway on what wall is, I'll have to, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to have to sketch something out. But like when you're walking in a forest and it's like it's a trail that everyone's hiked and there's been a natural path that's been cut out of it. That is the language, I guess you could say. Right. Like, what is the maze? Like, maybe, because yeah, I can see the problem of what makes something fun to play is different than what makes sense in the real world. With the idea that, like, with some of these things for sure. And so that definitely presents a problem with like design. But maybe if we change the scale, maybe if we think smaller or bigger, by scale I mean like how big is the thing that the player is manipulating? If we think about it that way, if it's not a humanoid sized robot, for instance, if it's more like mouse size or something. Yeah, and I'm not totally opposed to screen scroll. It does present problems for the player. But yeah, if we think like the borrowers and like, they're little people or like a little thing and the world is big around it, or that it's huge and the world is small around it. Yeah, so that's where we're thinking. I haven't said any of that on stream, I don't think, but we're definitely thinking like the base idea of it is that you're like a robot and you're breaking out of a factory into the real world, and there's no written words for the story, but that the idea is that it's a world where humans are gone and you don't really know why, but there's hints in the game. And this like rogue robot is going off and like restoring natural order to the world. It's really kind of hippie, and it's not like anything I really subscribe to or anything, but I like the idea of this mechanical thing bringing nature back into the world, which is like completely contradictory. And so like there's the regular robots exist in this world that they were helping humans in. I'm just revealing like all of the ideas that I have for like the main like story of the game. Yeah, it's a lot like Wall-E, where they're still working, but there's no people left to work for. I sent Darren a story called "There Will Come Soft Rains" or something. I forget the exact title. And it was a short story written by it's not Asimov. It was Bradbury, right? Ray Bradbury, and it was written in the 40s or 50s, and it was a short story about it's an incredibly like prescient idea of what home automation would be in the future, because it's about this home and there's all of these little Internet of Things in them, and like little like there's a Roomba that goes and like picks things up, and like there's things that go and automatically prepare meals and stuff like that, and they're all living out their little routine, but there's no people in it. And the subplot of the like side thing in the story is that it's like post-apocalypse, like a bomb has gone off basically kind of thing, and like the robots are still doing their deal. And they're taking care of a home for nobody who's going to be there, and like lighting up a cigar for somebody who's never coming and stuff like that. But like that was kind of the idea. But I don't know that necessarily is what it will be. It was just sort of like a seed to see what we could come up with. But yeah, the idea that you're traveling to different parts and like different, the environments change, and you've got, yeah, exactly. Depressing. But no, you're the robot bringing back nature. And like, so when you change the level kind of thing, then you start to see like life appear in like what was like sort of treaded on world or whatever, like plants start to pop up and stuff like that. So the opposite of Pac-Man is all consumption, right? You're eating all the pellets. That's how you beat the stage. This would be more like you're leaving a trail. You're like setting a path out, and then that's what springs things to life. And like we've been talking about like what causes that to happen and stuff, but we don't really know quite yet. Like I was thinking about it possibly being that there's the set maze and you have all these like puzzle elements that you're sort of figuring out, and then it triggers like that's when the threats become real, and then you're running around trying to sort of quote unquote beat the maze. Those are the ideas, but the key to being able to even have that is this, right? We're so close to it, is getting it so that we can pop down those obstacles. And then hopefully I hadn't wasted my time with the level editor stuff, which I don't think so. And then we just start popping out level designs and stuff. And then finally I can stop programming as much. We can just come up with ideas of like different things. Yeah, like I like the storytelling in something like Super Metroid, where it's like that one has a little bit of like a setup where there is a little bit of reading, but then everything that happens after that tells a story is all just happening in the game world itself. I like stuff like that. Especially because it's like that writing is a whole nother thing about design that I don't really want to concern myself with right now. Because I think I could probably write a really good bad story. But if it's like all in here and you're just sort of presenting the information to the player, then they get to tell the story in their mind more than I could by writing the words down and then ruining it for them. Yeah, if that makes any sense. Because they're bound to like come up with more explanations of what's going on that are better than what I like fabricate. It's like Lost. You know, like you start writing it out, and then the more it gets tangible, the worse it gets. You're like, oh, this is disappointing. It was better. Like the mystery was better than the revelation. Yeah. All right. Well. Whoa! I'm losing bandwidth right now. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that. I feel even like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I didn't watch that, but I know that once things became like finite and conclusive, when your plot revolves around the idea of a conclusion, and it's a long, like for instance with that kind of stuff, like you're so much bound to disappoint people. Yeah. I did want the robot to die at the end though. I'll say that. And then all of the like natural little creatures come out and sort of give him a little burial, and then they feel sad for him, and they feel like, so I did want to let the player just be heartbroken at the end. That's my idea, is to just like, you know, good job robot, and then I like give him like a little cute little bunny rabbit Viking funeral. Yeah, leave it open. And then they just like put him out into the like creek or something, and he just floats and then sinks in and goes under, and a little light goes down, and I just like really gut punch the player, be like, oh, I feel like crap now. That's my idea for how it would end, but I don't know that people would like that. Yeah, it's funny whenever I I don't know what that is. Clanted man? I don't know what that is. A new baby robot body. I like that. What are you doing awake still, White Jesus? Let me see. It's an anime? Oh, okay. Oh, is it based on some European? Is it from European folklore? I really like the Ronya anime, and I have to read the story. I still haven't read the actual book, but that was good. It's not really anime. It's like computer graphics with like cell shading. And that could be for the sequel if people like it. For the sequel, the little baby robot. Or he wakes up and he's got his original programming and he's back to the vicious cycle of destruction again, and then it's just like a loop. You undo everything you did. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. I really appreciate it. Wow, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Cobalt, you have a good night. Dominic and Darren, the double Ds. Yeah, you could give it like the big, you could give it the big, the chibi eyes. Like try to do the like chibi art with a little robot somehow. All right, so yeah, tomorrow the plan is, and I could have been doing it this whole time we're talking, but it was nice to like kind of relax a little bit. And that might be like a good excuse for why it's so slow. Yeah, try to approach Disney and see if they'll approve it. Yeah, so tomorrow I'll make the starting scene for our sprites that we'll do, and then we're going to have them pop in the scene tree when we lay them down on the tile map. And we've got the code ready for it. It's just that we need to have the scene ready, and then I need to do a few things to set it up properly. But it shouldn't be too much work. And then once we have that, then we can At some point, we really can start making those obstacles. We're so close. All right, guys. Have a good night.